On this episode, we talk about bad bosses,
Don't look at me.
advertising for your business, and starting an e-commerce agency. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 27 of the AskEngine show. We're excited to jump on. 27 subsequently is the age that I am. I had a birthday recently, so super excited for that, but I also hate it because I hate odd numbers, and I have to deal with that for a year, but it's my burden to bear. Got 3 questions today.
Yep, 3 questions.
Go ahead and jump into them.
First one from r/startups. This is more of kind of positing a statement, and then we can react to it. So this guy says that people don't quit bad companies, they quit bad bosses.
Well, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose both of you. I completely agree. I haven't worked for anyone ever in my life, but as I kind of watched some of my last company, and as you got a layer of management below it, the bad managers, I'm not going to mention any names or even departments, but you could see the turnover be completely different in their department than the others. Jim, I mean, did we ever lose a technical person on our tech team? No, Jim's our co-founder here and ran the development team. We had 20 some odd developers and a bunch of designers, et cetera, that would report up into Jim as the CTO.
It's because he smiled all the time.
Yeah, I don't think we ever lost one except when I ran a couple of them off because they weren't any good. Whereas some of the other departments, I don't think you could say that for. What are y'all's thoughts? I mean, y'all work for a terrible boss. How do you deal with it?
I think that
Copious amounts of
I think bad bosses make bad companies.
Right.
I think people can leave a company because it's bad or they don't enjoy it, but I think that usually the root of that is that management, you can track it somewhere along the line that there's something that they're reporting to, or maybe that their direct reporting is going to is not good quality, or that it's creating an oppressive situation. So I completely agree with this.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing, like defining what a bad boss is difficult because it's an individual question for an individual person. For me, I think the best bosses, they understand and they treat every single individual as just that, an individual. The way that John can interact with Jim, they've known each other since the 7th grade when Jim beat him in the spelling bee championship.
The only thing he's ever beaten me in, by the way. Yeah.
They can act differently, and like John and Blake, they can act differently because they've worked together since 11, 12?
Yeah, and you're right. It's individualistic on that too. We're buddies. We would talk to each other. We've been on a vacation together. And the thing is, it is individualistic. Like yesterday, we had a really good, hard conversation around our path. And I knew it wasn't going to be a hard conversation because we all want feedback from each other. I came in and said some crazy things and put my foot down and said this, and like most people would not react the way you guys did. Like, oh, I disagree with you. You're 80% right, but here's where you're wrong. I mean, to tell your boss you're wrong and be able to have that feedback, I think it's important. I don't know if I do it every time, but that's that's pretty individualistic, and you build a culture around that. Intellectual honesty is one of the things we value around here. So,
and then just caring. I mean, if you're a boss and you set aside an hour a day to do just very silly little things that show that you care, I think that's what matters on. And this is just something, I don't know if Joe actually picked this up or not, but Joe, our video guy, Monday we had to go exchange some equipment and he was at his thing and I took him a piece of cake. That's something that's very, very silly to do, but hopefully it shows that I care, right?
Yeah.
Good boy.
Well.
So that's what it is, but yeah, I think that you care and then you treat people as an individual and then you need to set the tone. So if you want people to work hard, you need to work hard, and those are my 3 things, is that that's what you can do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What's next?
Yeah, next question. This person is asking where they need to advertise. So they want advertising help on lower cost marketing solutions. They want better ROI rather than low cost, but they still want to be cheap. Has anybody have any success? They want to know if people have had success advertising on Reddit, Instagram, what's good and low cost.
Yeah.
Jeez, I mean, it's all about the ROI. I would rather pay a high cost and have a great ROI than the opposite. I mean, that's a hard question to answer. I think you're going to reframe it, and we can answer it differently.
Sure,
right?
If you have good ROI, you can have a self-fueling machine.
Yeah,
right.
This person is saying, how can I spend a little amount of money and still lose? Is essentially
banner ads on the sides of terrible websites are next to free. Go do that, but no ROI.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I picked this question because it's a coffee company and I love coffee. So for me, I'm upset with you, but then I'm gonna try and actually provide some help here, in the aftermath of this comment. But first and foremost, you've got to be willing to try. So often in today's culture, people think they can start a budget on $0, $10, and it's like, that's great, you can do that. But you're going to be working for 18 to 24 months with zero marketing budget, which means you have to individually follow every single person on Twitter that's talking about coffee and say, hey, will you buy my stuff? It's a very high
opportunity
time.
Cost in that, right?
Exactly.
I mean, if you pay yourself $50 an hour or $100 an hour or whatever you pay yourself, and you spend an hour doing it, you just paid $100.
Yeah.
I mean, would you have better luck on Facebook or Twitter or whatever? That's opportunity cost. People will factor out on that.
So if you're looking for a very cheap solution to get your product advertised, I have a very good friend, Michael Shoemake, shout out to Atlas Coffee Club. They bootstrapped their entire company off of being very helpful to people who are trying to write content for a large audience. So what they did is they decided that we are going to be the coffee company that is mentioned in every single listicle on the internet, USA Today, everything. And what they do is they reach out to an editor with an article that's 70% written, and it talks wonderful about 10 different companies, and Atlas just happens to be number 8, or Atlas happens to be, if you're really smart, number 4, because when someone scrolls on mobile, they typically stop on 4 to 5. Those types of things is a free thing that you can do to help an editor who's writing at Cosmo, HuffPo, any publication. Start with lower ones, start reaching out to higher ones, build a connection with that editor, serve them an article if you tell on their editorial calendar that they're looking for the top 10 gifts to give your spouse. Write an article, send it to them, don't self-promote too much. That's a free activity. And then
how do you streamline it? I mean, there's a thing like HARO, H-A-R-O, help a reporter out. It's a daily email, reporters looking for questions. Go in and answer those. I mean, that's a cheap, easy way, and you're not going to waste hours going around to do it. Perfect. But going back to the cheap thing, I want to reframe that question in a different way. So you don't have a marketing budget. You can spend whatever you want. You have a test and learn budget, which is different. And the reason why he can spend whatever he wants is we're tied to a specific ROI. And so what we determine as a team is our marketing test and learn budget. So we're a funded company. We've got a little more money than most of the people listening to this. We don't have infinite money. We have a couple $1 million in the bank. So we do $500 tests, and you did one on our Alexa skill the other day. It was mediocre. We learned a lot from it.
0.1% click-through rate.
It was a terrible ROI, but we learned a couple, 3 things on it that we can then apply to a different ask. So $500, $500, $500, $500. And when you hit one, turn it up to 11 and spend all the money on that because it has a payback period that's acceptable and an ROI that's acceptable. So
just make it rain right now.
And I think what's important there too from us running these tests is that we compile those learnings and apply to the next test.
I don't care if it's a yellow page ad that's cheap, skyscraper ads on remnant inventory on terrible the dearth of the bottom of the barrel internet. I don't care. Or is this a sponsor's post in the Wall Street Journal? You can't do that, but assume you could. I mean, that'd be the highest end. I don't care. It's the ROI we care about.
Yeah.
So, all right.
And to wrap this up, you've got to be willing to test. Just like he said, we had 0.1% click-through rates. Horrible.
Terrible.
We changed 2 things. Yesterday, our click-through rate is 6%. Yeah. You've got to be willing to put a little bit of money towards it. If you're trying to hit a winner every single time, you're never going to hit a winner because if you're A/B split testing, you're looking for failures and always test your assumptions.
So you went from 0.1 to 6%. Call it 60-fold increase. Was it creative or was it targeting? Or a combination?
A combination of both. It was creative. It was targeting, and then it was optimization event on Facebook. Tweak those 3 things, and that's the difference. And if we were, that's without optimizing that second. That's we made these 3 assumptions, we put them, it went to a 6%, and then we've not optimized any further from there. We've not done any type of optimization from there.
You can get it to 7%.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. All right, good.
Cool. Last question. How do I create an e-commerce agency?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's make some assumptions here. I'm assuming you haven't built a $100 million business. We have. I'm assuming you've not worked at an agency that's been responsible for growing and scaling a $100 million business. And if those 2 things are true, don't go build an e-commerce agency because you're not qualified to do it. That doesn't mean there aren't hundreds of, if not thousands of people out there trying to build e-commerce agencies and building really bad, mediocre experiences. But we built that agency. We had a team that had built multiple sites. One of them that did reach $100 million of revenue. And I felt like we even struggled at times to take care of our clients in the right way. So technology-wise, felt great about it. An Engine actually spun out of an e-commerce technology development agency. We also have a marketing agency, a data agency in-house that do those things from guys that ran data and marketing from a $100 million business. Been there, done that. So I think you give the advice, but I think I'll steal a little of your thunder. It's either do that yourself and prove you got the chops for it, have the chops for it, or go work for somebody at at an agency, right? What do you agree?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, and we've talked about my story in other episodes, but that's what you have to do. If you don't have the skills, go learn on someone else's dime. And I don't mean that, like, don't take advantage of your employer, but it's patience. A lot of people want to start a business right now, and they don't understand that 99.999% of the time, you're going to make a lot more money working for someone than you are as an entrepreneur, with a lot less headaches, a lot less stress, a lot better work-life balance. It doesn't make sense. And for it to be glorified that you need to work for yourself, it's a fallacy. If you have a good boss, working for a good boss is much better than working for yourself and not being able to provide for family, yourself, whatever it is. So my advice to you is find someone who's doing what you want to do and go and learn from them for 18 months. Take your agency, say, I'm not going to think about this for 18 months. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to work. I'm going to get around people who are better than me, and I'm going to grow from that. And it just helps with connections. When I started my e-commerce agency, I white labeled for 6 months. I never had to go and try and grab and find a client. I didn't have to desperately reach out to people because by the time I said, hey, I'm going out on my own, I already had a roster list.
You'd already done it, and you were different. When you came to us, you said, hey, I'm running this agency. And the first question I asked you literally was, what have you done? And you told me. I was like, oh, that's great. I said, why don't you come work with us? Here's what we've done. And you said, wow, I've never built a $100 million. I want to come learn from you. I'm like, are you kidding me? You've already done stuff. I can learn from you. This is a perfect scenario. So that, I think you're a living, breathing example of this question. I think you did it right. And hopefully you won't leave in 18 months to go redo your agency. But if you do, hopefully you'll be better for it, and we'll certainly be better for it. Don't you think?
Oh yeah.
I'm vested after 36, so.
Okay, so we've at least got you for 3 years, assuming we can prove this sort of thing. Right.
Perfect. Question of the day. I've asked the last 2. Do either of y'all have one?
I don't have a question.
Oh man, I don't have one.
Okay, I'll ask it then.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is very interesting to me. What do you define as patience? For me, I think about things. I think about cashing in on what we're doing here when I'm 50. I think about the conversation that I'm going to have with John when he's 80 and he's a billionaire, and I'm saying, hey John, I've got this next company that I want to fund. Do you want to do it with me? That's patience for me. That's long-term thinking. What do you qualify as long-term thinking? Is it a year, 3 years, 5 years? Would love to know your thoughts on that. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.